WrestleMania 6, 1990, this was the moment Jim Hellwig changed forever. Handpicked by Vince McMahon to carry WWE into a new decade, Hellwig, better known as the Ultimate Warrior, was positioned as the man to replace Hulk Hogan as the face of the company. On that night, Warrior pinned Hogan clean in the middle of the ring and raised the WWE Championship above his head. The Toronto SkyDome erupted. It was the peak of his career and the beginning of his downfall. In that instant, Jim Hellwig stopped playing a character. He became the Ultimate Warrior. The line between the man and the persona vanished. Within months, his ego spiraled out of control, fueled by an obsession with surpassing Hulk Hogan in every possible way. Just as quickly as he reached the top, he became one of the most disliked men in professional wrestling. Before the face paint and the muscle-bound mystique, Jim Hellwig was known as an insecure, introverted child. He didn't fit in, and he struggled to measure himself against other boys until he discovered bodybuilding. The gym became his refuge. By his teenage years, Hellwig's physique exploded. While his peers gravitated toward traditional sports, Hellwig devoted himself entirely to lifting weights. That singular focus would define his entire life. In the mid-1980s, he began competing in amateur bodybuilding contests, winning the 1984 Mr. Georgia title. A year later, at a bodybuilding event, he caught the attention of promoters from Jerry Jarrett's Continental Wrestling Association. Alongside another bodybuilder named Steve Borden, who would later become Sting, Hellwig entered the wrestling business. The two were paired as a tag team called the Freedom Fighters, and by most accounts, they were terrible. Fans rejected them almost immediately. They were turned heel and placed under the guidance of Dutch Mantel, but even that couldn't save them. Mantel later said, "They were horrible, worse than horrible. Horrible would have been an upgrade." In 1986, the pair moved to Bill Watts' Universal Wrestling Federation and were repackaged as the Blade Runners, a blatant imitation of the Road Warriors. It was here that Hellwig's attitude truly began to surface. He showed little interest in teamwork and seemed completely focused on himself. Despite traveling together, Sting had little praise for his partner, describing Hellwig as intense, paranoid, and fundamentally different in how he viewed wrestling and life. Jim Ross, who worked for the UWF at the time, echoed those sentiments. He noted that Hellwig was self-centered, disconnected from the locker room, and not receptive to advice. Wrestling, Ross felt, wasn't a passion for Hellwig, it was a means to be seen. Bill Watts eventually realized that Hellwig simply wasn't willing to learn or listen. While Sting thrived and stayed behind, Hellwig was forced to go solo. Despite limited in-ring ability, Hellwig possessed two things promoters couldn't ignore: an incredible physique and undeniable charisma. In 1986, he landed in world-class championship wrestling in Dallas, rebranding himself as the Dingo Warrior. The crowds loved him. And as the cheers grew louder, so did his ego. Instead of improving his wrestling skills, Warrior convinced himself he was already above everyone else. He didn't want to be a wrestler. He wanted to be a television star. His arrogance quickly alienated those around him, but his rise was just beginning. In 1987, WWE came calling. WWE was the perfect environment for a man like the Ultimate Warrior, larger-than-life personalities, massive egos, and a promoter who valued spectacle above all else. Vince McMahon saw money in Warrior immediately. Warrior couldn't cut a traditional promo, but that didn't matter. His incoherent, intense ramblings somehow fit the character perfectly. As his push accelerated, so did backstage resentment. He was known for being short-tempered, difficult to communicate with, and reckless in the ring. Bobby Heenan openly disliked working with him, once saying Warrior wasn't a wrestler at heart, just a bodybuilder chasing easy money. Heenan recalled repeatedly warning Warrior about his bad neck, only for Warrior to ignore him and deliver stiff clotheslines anyway. Jim Cornette was even more blunt, stating that Warrior couldn't wrestle, couldn't talk, and only succeeded because Vince McMahon pushed him relentlessly. That push reached its peak at WrestleMania 6. Fueled by massive crowd reactions, Vince chose Warrior to do the unthinkable: defeat Hulk Hogan and lead WWE into the 1990s. Warrior became the only man ever allowed to pin Hogan clean during that era. The world was his. And then, almost immediately, it fell apart. After the match, Warrior isolated himself backstage, soaking in the moment alone. Within weeks, his behavior became erratic. He began avoiding people, staying on the road longer than usual, and acting increasingly paranoid. His marriage collapsed, and his personal life unraveled. Jake the Snake Roberts was scheduled to be his first major challenger, a career-defining opportunity. But when Roberts approached Warrior for approval, he was met with hostility. Warrior berated him, dismissed his family, and treated him with complete disrespect. That match never happened. By 1991, Warrior had become convinced he deserved everything Hulk Hogan had: money, power, and control. Before SummerSlam, he handed Vince McMahon a letter outlining his demands, including a contract equal to Hogan's. He threatened to no-show if he wasn't paid. Vince reluctantly agreed to get him through the event, then fired him immediately afterward. Years later, with WWE struggling against WCW in the mid-90s, McMahon was willing to forgive the past. With Hogan, Savage, Hall, and Nash all gone, he turned back to Warrior in 1996, hoping to recapture old magic. The return failed. At WrestleMania 12, Warrior faced Triple H and famously refused to sell the pedigree, burying a rising star in the process. House show no-shows followed, and by mid-1996, WWE cut ties again. Warrior's public speaking career, filled with extreme and offensive views, further damaged his reputation. Even WCW's 1998 run only existed to give Hogan his win back, featuring some of the worst storytelling of the era. Despite everything, WWE welcomed Warrior back in 2014. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 30 with talk of forgiveness and closure. 2 days later, on April 8, 2014, the Ultimate Warrior passed away, putting an end to a bittersweet yet controversial career.